And you had an amazing miracle. I remember all of a sudden in the middle of the ministry, hearing somebody just weeping and weeping and weeping and crying and crying and crying. And I looked over and it was you. And I called you up on stage and you were weeping so much you couldn't get the Kleenex out of your face. And when I asked you what happened, you related the story. So would you share it again for us, David?
Well, you were talking about, people that had bitterness in your life, and I didn't think I had bitterness, but you described a symptom of tiredness and weariness and fatigue, and I feel like I live in that. I'm 64 years old, and I have a young family, but I felt like I was 70 or 80 years old, just dragging, like somebody pulled the energy plug out of me, and I was just draining.
So let me tell you why that is. See, the Bible says, it talks about in Numbers 5, when you drink the bitter water, the curse of the bitter water will come upon you, and your belly will swell, meaning weight gain. I've lost supernatural weight just by getting healed of bitterness. Without exercise or anything, I lost the weight supernaturally by being healed of bitterness. And it says your belly will swell and your thigh will rot. Meaning you'll lose your strength. You'll have muscle atrophy. You'll begin to get weaker and weaker. And that had happened to me. My actual thighs had rotted so much I had indentations in my thighs. My skin was hanging off my legs. And it was because I was drinking the bitter water. And the curse of the bitter water had come upon me, and my belly had swollen, I'd gained weight, and my thigh had rotted. I'd gotten weaker. And when I relayed this story biblically to you, you got a connection from it.
Yes. At first, I didn't want to stand because of the bitterness, because I didn't know that was the root. I guess a lot of times we don't know what the root is, but I understood the symptom. So then I stood up, and you asked for the saints, under the tent to come and pray. And as they prayed for me, the power of God began to rise in me, and that power set me free. And I felt a change, but I went over to a brother, and I just leaned on him, and I just began to weep because that freedom felt so good to me. It seemed like it had been forever, and then I realized what I had unloaded on my children, and my children were here tonight, and I felt so bad for my children because I felt like I had vomited all over them.
It's so neat how the family came up last night and relayed gently to Dad that, his anger and his bitterness had become quite a burden for the family, and they felt helpless because they wanted to make him feel better and help him, but they didn't know what to do, and actually, you didn't even know what to do. It takes a miracle at that point, because these character bents are so ingrained in our soul, we need supernatural deliverance to get rid of them. Now, you told me that when you felt the bitterness lift, that instantly you felt strength pour into your body. Is that right?
Absolutely, strength. And then before we left last night, and I caught you, and I said, Katie, I feel like I'm 20 years old.
It's true. Woo! He was jumping and dancing, and I walked by him, and he had the biggest smile on his face. I said, I feel like I'm 20 years old again.
I feel that way.
You still?
Yeah, I still feel that way.
Come on, let's give God the biggest praise ever.
I said I don't want to eat anymore. I just want to eat Jesus.
Come on.
I don't want to eat that nasty food that makes you tired. I want to just eat Jesus. Yeah. I want heaven.
No more bitter water, amen. Let's give Jesus one more praise. Hallelujah.